back to the channel. So I found this interesting article on direct lithium extraction. If you've been following my videos, I'm pretty big on E3 metals, as their market cap is 1 million, sorry, around 100 million, 130 million, and then there's Standard Lithium has a $2 billion market cap, and I don't see a lot of difference between the two, except Standard Lithium has built a pilot plant and E3 metals is just about to build a pilot plant. So a 20th of the price you can get E3 metals, which is why I was very interested in them. And my question was, does DLE work at scale? And according to these articles, yes, it has been working at scale. And if it works at scale, what price does it work at scale? And is that competitive against like other sources? So it turns out it is. So this, according to this article, you have to check the facts on this one. So we'll go to this here. Largest lithium extraction from brines project in China started commissioning. So they spent 3 billion yuan, I'm not sure how you say that, which is roughly 500 million. That's pretty in line with E3 metals. Their capital expenditure is, I think, 700 million USD. Sorry, I keep going back to the wrong article. So it says cost and profit margin. So the cost, we'll notice that the profit margin can change as supply and demand changes, but the cost will always remain sort of the same. So if you convert this cost of 35,000 yuan, it turns out to be about $6,000 USD, which is a pretty good price. E3 Metals says they'll do it at 3,500, though saying it and doing it is a different thing. So that's the thing. Even if E3 Metals, I'll go through the sums of E3 Metals, they're going to make 20,000 tons per annum, and say the cost is 6,000. So the profit margin is in the early 20s. Once they get going, profit margin will be more, and then as more supply comes on, that will probably dwindle away. So say it's even $10,000. So they make it for 6, sell it for 16, and they do 20,000 tons. Whoops, I gotta put the X there. That is 10,000 profit margin. 20,000 times 10,000. Is that right? Oh yeah, 200 million. So 200 million for a company that you can buy for 100 million now. So it seems pretty good going. The question was, does this technology work? I now think the technology does work, though it's just they got to prove it, and at what cost. So they might start off at, like this company, I'm not sure what they're doing, but they could start off at this, but over time they can get their costs down. The biggest cost I see with DLE is electricity. So while that's why it's good if you have a geothermal brine, they're making electricity, which means that's a cost taken out. So I think Vulcan Energy, they have a cost of about 2,500 compared to the E3 metals, but Vulcan Energy is already run, so that's $1 billion market cap. I don't know, a couple of billion. But E3 metals hasn't had its run yet, in my opinion. So this is basically what the sorbent is. E3 metals has a similar thing to this. So the lithium, the brine gets pumped through, they have the sorbent, the lithium gets stuck on the sorbent, and then it looks like here they just flush it with water and the lithium gets put back into the water. Yes, so that's basically how it works. I think a few other people have like a filter. It filters out the lithium from the other things through like a fine filter, and then they extract the lithium. There's a lot of different ways, and I think you have to combine a few together. I don't know, but E3 metals, they think they've cracked it. I know why this is coming up. E3 metals is doing lab tests now, and they say they're getting 90% recoveries in the lab. So they're basically testing in the lab, and once they've confirmed in the lab what works best, they're going to build the pilots. So that's coming up soon, and if that works well at a good price, I see this price being a thing of the past. So there is risk. Another risk I can think of is if this gets done by E3 metals, their brine is only 50 parts per million compared to some more saltier places lithium is a type of salt, if you didn't know. Some more salty places might have 400 parts per million, which means they have to pump less water through than E3 metals. But maybe that's, I'm not sure the cost of that, but you just think if you're pumping more water, it's going to cost you more. And I think electricity is just one of the biggest costs with DLE, because basically you're pumping water through, sucking it out, and that requires a lot of electricity. So a lot of the OPEX is electricity, which is why some players with geothermal brines, if they get it right with them, could be a better option than E3 metals. That's I can say a risk is. Also location, I think Alberta, it's not really close, like compared to the Salton Sea, which is right near California. If they make the lithium here, they're gonna have to maybe truck a long way. I could be wrong. There could be places there where they can closer and sell the lithium there. So another thing about E3 metals, if you saw my calculation here, if they do $20,000, 20,000 tons at $10,000 profit, 200 million. And if they get this right, they can easily do it again, because they build this thing and they just build that same thing again, and they can do. They said they can go all the way up to 150,000. So if you go 150,000, this is in the perfect world, times 10,000 is that 1.5 billion, I think. 000. Yeah, $1.5 billion. So that's, if that happens, it sounds too good to be true. Probably is. So what might happen in the future in 2030 or something? If they can do it, there's probably going to be other people who can do it. So it will be whoever can do it at the lowest cost. But maybe E3 metals might get started, get the cost down, and warn off competitors, do it that way. So the question now, I think, is not so much does it work, because it appears that it does work, and they just got to like streamline it, get all the kinks out, iron the kinks out. They'll find the issues. E3 metals will probably go ahead first, find the issues, sort them out, so will other players. But it's all a risk. I'm still considering it. The way I invest, I don't put more than maybe 10-20% in the company, because when I first started investing, that's what I did, and yep, not a good thing to do. So I'm considering buying more E3 metals, though I like to sit on things for a couple of weeks. When I first bought in E3 metals, I was like, saw the price go up here, and so oh, I better buy in. So I bought in around $3, and I'm down quite a bit. But that doesn't really matter. If they get this right, you'll see this. It should like 10x. It'll go over $1 billion. If they get the pilot plant and it turns out to make a good amount of lithium, we could see them like Standard Lithium. So the difference between them and Standard Lithium's done the pilot plant. E3 metals is just going to work out what works best for the pilot plant. Big drop here. Standard Lithium, and also Standard Lithium works off the back of a thing that makes bromine. So there's a company already pumping stuff out of the ground, getting out the bromine, and then it goes into Standard Lithium's facility, and they extract the lithium from it. So maybe they don't have to spend so much capex. I don't know that for sure. That's just one thing I can see. But E3 metals, another thing with them, all around it, this used to be oil fields, so it's underground aquifer. The good thing, this aquifer has been drilled into 4,000 times, so they've got a lot of data of what's underneath and how much lithium's in there. And so they used to pump up the brine, get oil out of it, or not from the brine, from maybe just above the brine. Just above the brine is where the oil sat, or something like that. They used to get oil from there, and now there's not much oil there. It's not worth pumping it out. So E3 metals can take over the things that pumped out the oil and save a lot of capex. I think for every one of the oil pumps, whatever they are, oil wells, they can save $2 million each, and I think there's like 50 to 100 of them that they can do that on. So that's saving a lot in the capex. And yeah, I just think it's pretty good, but it could go wrong. So that's why I'm not all in on it. Yeah, it could be like Novonix here when they went up, came down, bought in. You saw the roadmap. Novonix is still working towards a thing, and who knows? They could go like Novonix, or they could just go like some other company I can't know that will just go down. So that's the risk with E3 metals, can they do it? We shall see. They look cheaper than anyone else doing it, especially because they've got the technology and the resource. Lake on the ASX, they're teaming up with Lilac Solutions, who's backed by Bill Gates. So they don't own the full thing. They're teaming up with Lilac and they have to pay them some of it or something like that. But they're $1 billion, so one advantage I can see for Lake is they got more parts per million in the lithium, so maybe they have to pump less. I'm not sure if you know more about than I do. Is that a big factor if there's less lithium in the brine, so they have to pump more through, obviously spend more money, and it creates more of an OPEX cost per ton. So yeah, that's it from DLE. So there's a lot more things in China working at the moment. Project is estimated. This is another project to generate 20,000 tons. That's how much they spent on it. Yeah, so China's doing it as well. So we shall see what will happen, but I think E3 metals is a pretty good bet. Um, yeah, more research probably needed. I'd like to see what Alex Grant says about them. Alex Grant studies a lot of companies, and he would probably know that if E3 metals is good. I did hear Alex Grant say, can E3 metals do it for $4,000 per ton, or will it be like $8,000 per ton? So that's one comment I saw him talk about. So perhaps, yeah, I don't know. Even still, I think if DLE works, all these hard rock miners could die out because they cost quite a bit more. Um, and that's all I'll say. E3 metals, maybe worth the bet. If they get it right and they get a good lead, they can probably get the cost down. Solar and wind power is get actually E3 metals can run off wind power, but obviously it's not wind all the time, so they'll have a gas base load as well, which is quite cheap, I think. So we'll see what the future holds. If they can get running, they can reinvest that money they make to actually expand straight away as demand increases, and they could also spend it to get their costs down, fending off anyone else who wants to come into the market. And all that you can buy for $100 million. I don't see a better taking, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens with this. I've got some money in there. Might put some more money in there. It's good to uh, wait a couple of weeks, I think, to find out a few more things. And you think, oh, well, I'm glad I didn't put more in because I found this out. So let me know what you think about DLE, and good night.